I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Okay, I think you guys are going to find this blog interesting, possibly enlightening here. So here we go. I've talked many times over the years, of course, about the record low interest rate environment we are in now and how powerful this is. Not only in, of course, reducing your monthly payment on your mortgage, but the more important thing is the damage it is doing to your principal right from year one, which I'm going to get to in a minute. And I'm going to give you guys a website, calculator.net. I've mentioned it a few times. Go on to their mortgage calculator and fiddle around with the numbers, because it's incredible, you know, what the 1.1% or 1.2 or 1.3, sub 2% interest rates are doing to your principal versus interest payment on your mortgage. It's not just reducing your payments. Much more deeper than that in what it's doing to the principal payment. So I'm going to give you a real life example here from myself. This is a property that I own, investment property that I just renewed the mortgage on. And I was at 2.7% on my current mortgage that I had. I'm pretty sure it was either a 3 or a 4 year fix. I think it was a 3 year that just came up for renewal. So I was at 2.7. I just renewed and I put it into a variable rate mortgage at 1.19%. 1.19% on this. Give you an example here of what 1.19% is doing here to my mortgage payment. So it's an $820,000 mortgage balance owing on this property. At 1.19%, at 2.7, I was paying close to $3,500 a month. I think it was about $3,460 some odd dollars per month. Now that I'm down to 1.19, it's reduced that down to $3,161. So it's knocked about, $375 a month off my monthly payment. But here's the more interesting thing it's doing. I want you to go, I've mentioned it before, calculator.net. Go onto that website and click on their mortgage calculator. They've got all kinds of calculators on there. It's a fantastic site. I use it all the time for measurements and weights. But their mortgage calculator is fantastic because it allows you to play around with the interest rate, the amortization, and then it gives you a 25-year amortization table. This is the critical thing. So it shows on your monthly payment what the breakdown is between principal and interest and what those balances are from year one all the way down to year 25 when you clear the mortgage off. So at 1.19%, my monthly payment now is $3,160 per month. After year one, the total payments, I am knocking off $28,332 in the first year straight off my principal. My interest is $9,603. So for every $4 approximately, $3 is going straight off the principal. This is the power of these low interest rates, and it's something that you never hear people talk about. I still hear, these pundits and these perma bears complaining about low interest rates. I mean, who in their right mind complains about low interest rates? I'll tell you who complains about it. It's people on the outside looking in that don't have two dimes to rub together. They don't own any real estate. They don't own any equities or stocks or businesses. They're basically living paycheck to paycheck. They want interest rates to go up in some sick way that hopefully it will bring real estate prices down so they can somehow buy in, which will never happen. I like low interest rates. I think most of my viewers are the same way. I started buying real estate and I was paying close to 16% on my first investment properties 35 years ago. I remember when interest rates got below 10%, I got into 9% interest rates, single digit. I thought I had died and gone to heaven. So in that first year at 1.19% on an $820,000 mortgage, I am knocking off close to $30,000 in principal payment in the first year, and $9,000 is only going to interest. Let's just play around with the numbers here just a bit. And that's why I like calculator.net. I plugged in 4.5%, same $820,000 mortgage at 4.5. Listen, people now, young people of course, would think 4.5%, wow, that's a high interest rate. 4.5% was not that long ago. I had mortgages 6-7 years ago at 4.5, and I was happy to get them. Remember, the 20-year average mortgage rate in Canada is something close to 7%. That's the 20-year average. And again, I tell people I was paying 13, 14, 15% back 20, 25 years ago. I know you young people can't believe that, but 4.5% is actually well below our 20-year average. That same $820,000 mortgage, my payments now on that would go from $3,100 to $4,557. But here's where it gets crazy. In year one, you're going to pay $36,000 on interest and only knock off $18,000 of principal. It's completely reversed just by going to 4.5%. It's incredible. Year two, $35,000 goes to interest and only $19,000 comes off principal. Let's make it even worse for you guys. 8% I plugged in. 8% again. I know for some of you, 8%, oh my God, that seems incredibly high. It was probably, 10 years ago that I had mortgages at 8%. At 8% on that same $820,000 mortgage, your payment now goes up to $6,328. But here's the real killer. In year one, you are going to pay $65,000 in interest, and you're going to knock off a measly 10 grand off the principal. You're going to pay $75,000 total payments and only chip off $10,000 of principal, $65,000 in interest. This is the power of these ultra low interest rates that you never hear people talk about. You'll hear these pundits say that interest rates are going to go up, which of course they are eventually, and people are going to be underwater and not be able to afford the mortgage, and they're going to foreclose, and the housing market's going to crash. Well, what they don't tell you is that, we are probably going to be living in a low interest rate environment for some time to come. I have no idea. They're not going to stay this low at 1.19 forever. They're going to probably start to increase slowly over the next few years. But from the experts I talk to, we're probably going to be in a fairly low interest rate environment for the next decade or more. We're not going to be seeing 10% interest rates anytime soon. We're probably not even going to see 7% in the next 10 or 15 years. But who knows? But what they don't tell you is, let's say interest rates stay low for the next 10 years, even if interest rates start to creep up in the next 5 or 6 years, you can always then go from a variable lock in for a 5 or even a 10-year mortgage. And eventually I think maybe we're probably going to get similar mortgages like they have in the States, where you can lock in a 25-year fixed. Then it takes all the guesswork out. So, even if interest rates start to creep up, going up to 3-4%, let's say, in 7 or 8 years, you can then lock it in on a 5-year fixed or a 10-year fixed. So you're good now for 15 years at fairly low interest rates, well below our 20-year average. What they don't talk about is how much damage you've done to the principal with that. I mean, after 15 years at 1.19% here, at 1.19%, after about 15 years on that $420,000 mortgage, you've only got about $350K left of principal. You've done a tremendous amount of damage to that principal, and that's something that people don't talk about. That's why you want to get in the market. Take advantage of these low interest rates. It's not just the monthly payment, it's what it's doing to your principal payment right from year one. Most of your money, 3/4 of every dollar you put in, is going straight off the principal. If we went to 4.5%, it was completely flipped. Only $1 was going to principal and $3 goes to interest. Something you don't hear people talk much about. Take advantage of the low interest rates. And this is why, when these pundits talk about, people overcommitting themselves, over leveraging. Well, as I've often said, I work the Vancouver market, the lower mainland market. I don't see much of that because, first off, people are not using conventional mortgages here in Vancouver. They're using conventional mortgages. They're not using high ratio. They're putting 20, 25, 30% down. The other thing a lot of people don't talk about much is that the lower mainland in Vancouver, at least last time I checked, has the highest percentage of clear title ownership anywhere in the country, meaning that they do not have a mortgage on the property. I can tell you that probably 3, maybe even 35% of the homes I sell every year are clear title properties. The owners do not have a mortgage. I would say that at least half the properties I sell have a equity to loan ratio better than 50%. So in other words, if it's $1 million condo, the mortgage is $500,000 or less on it. They've got more equity than they have remaining on the balance. That's the way it is here in the lower mainland with our prices. Now, in other jurisdictions, I'm sure there are people that are over leveraging themselves. Very difficult to do with the Canadian banks, of course. You can't. Try getting a mortgage with TD or Royal Bank, especially in Vancouver. They're going to want 20% down all day. You have to put a conventional mortgage down on $1 million or more. If it's an investment property, you've got to put at least 20% down or more. The way people may get in trouble is they're using, alternative lenders, second, third tier lenders. The banks have turned them down, and maybe these alternative lenders are approving them at a crazy, ridiculous interest rate. That's not good, but they are in the minority. But again, the thing that a lot of people don't talk about, what keeps our market going here, is not just the lower payments you're making on 1.1 or 1.2% variable rates, it's what it's doing to your principal. And in 5 or 10 years, you're doing a tremendous amount of damage. Eventually, these interest rates are going to go up. They've got nowhere to go from here. But I would say, do what I'm doing, take advantage of them. Because eventually they are going to go up and your payments are going to go up. But in the meantime, over the next 5 or 10 years or more, you are chipping off a ton of principal at a very low interest rate. I've talked about it before too. I mean, when you factor in the ultra low interest rates right now, where you can lock in a variable at 1.2%, condos in Vancouver right now are less expensive now than they were in 2017. Sure, the prices are up a little bit more, not that much. They've kind of treaded water and took a little bit of a bump up here earlier this year. But our interest rates are far lower than what they were in 2017. Thus, the overall affordability is actually less now than it was in 2017. But go on to calculator.net, play around with the numbers a little bit here. Have a look at what these ultra low interest rates are doing to your principal and interest breakdown. This is what's keeping our market strong, folks. And it will continue that way. Where interest rates are going to go from here, who knows? I think they are going to stay low for the foreseeable future. I would take advantage of them. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.